Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Sedu, I think we can start. We have 50 more people joined.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I will welcome everyone first. Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining for the session today on a Saturday morning. I welcome all of you on behalf of AWS Startup Program and Kerala Startup Mission. This session is jointly organized by AWS and Kerala Startup Mission. So today we have three speakers joining with us. Let me welcome them. First, let me welcome Krishna Chaka. He's a senior solution architect at AWS, and Naveen Kumaran, solution architect at AWS. And also we have Balaji Mahesh Babu. He's a VP of engineering of a startup. We may be already knowing a Cochin-based startups called Service Pad. We are planning this session with Sedu. Sedu is a AWS Startup Program associate. She'll be starting with explaining about AWS Startup Program and resources and how startup can leverage the program. Then we will have a technical session. How can startup build and scale the startup using AWS solution? Naveen and Krishna will be leading that session. After that, we will have a experience sharing session by Balaji. So I welcome each one of you once again to the session. Over to you, Sedu. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fasil. Thanks everyone for joining. We're excited to be, interacting with startups at Kerala Startup Mission. I'm just going to take like quick 10 minutes to walk you through different startup programs and resources that we have at AWS. A quick intro about myself. I am Setu. I'm part of the startup VD team in India. So I work very closely with the early stage startup ecosystem, basically working with incubators, accelerators, and startup organizations to help their portfolio companies. So just a quick introduction about our team as well. We are a global startup team. So we comprise of former investors, exited founders, people who have worked in the startup ecosystem. So this team is particularly focused on helping startups and accelerate their growth. Here you can see some of the organizations that we work with across the globe. So we have a global team and across 20 countries. We work closely with incubators, accelerators, VC firms, and startup organizations. So what exactly does our team do? We don't invest any cash or take any capital position, but what we do is we invest our time. We invest promotional credits and share knowledge and also help you navigate through different AWS resources and open doors for you, remove obstacles. So and also leverage our knowledge as AWS across the globe. So these are the different programs that we have for startups. As you can see, it's classified depending on what stage you are in. So from formation to validation to growth stage, we have different programs available to you. One of the main programs that I'll just do a deep dive is the AWS Activate, and other programs include free trainings, business support, on-demand solution, and once you scale, you also get access to AWS Partner Network, AWS Connections, and marketplaces. So I won't be going deeper into all of them, but just a quick overview about a few of these programs that would be relevant to you. So first one is the AWS Activate. Most of you have heard about it. Some of you are already on Activate. So Activate is our program for early stage companies to help them get started on AWS, set up their technical infrastructure and have a smooth runway for 2 years. So it is more like a program that will help you get started on AWS at zero cost and have a smooth runway for your technical infrastructure. So this program also comes with a certain amount of credits to help you learn AWS. At the same time, it gives you all the technical assistance that you need, all the other support that you need to track and monitor your AWS usage, and plus it also comes with the exclusive offering from our enterprise customers. So so in terms of Activate, if you're already associated with the Activate providers such as any incubator, accelerator, or Kerala Startup Mission, you'll be eligible to receive credits to the Activate program. The Activate also comes with a premium technical support, that is the business support plan, where you get access to AWS Trusted Advisor. If you have any questions or any technical questions, or you want to access any white papers, you can use these business support. So it also comes with a certain amount of credits for you to freely access all these resources. Next is the Activate console. So Activate console is a recently launched console inside Activate. So here you get different recommendations on your feed depending upon your Activate profile. The Activate profile means what stage your startup are in, what sector you're focusing on, what are the different services that you're using. So depending on that, you get a personalized recommendation feed to help you actually grow your startup. Apart from these, you will also get a cost and credit summary. There are different exclusive offers available inside this. So exclusive offers means some of the our enterprise customers are giving you exclusive benefits to their platform. So these are global ones, but I can talk about, in India, we have Freshworks offering their credits. So if you are part of Activate, you can access those credits through the Activate itself. Then others might be HubSpot, Zendesk, Segment. These are different solutions are also available inside this. Next is about, we have a dedicated team of solution architects who work very closely with the startup ecosystem. So they actually help you in terms of architecture and design support. So for example, if you're launching a new product and you want your architecture to get reviewed, before launching your product, then our solution architect will help you with architecture review and to ensure that you are following the best practices in terms of security, and also in long term that you're optimized for cost as well. The next part is about cost optimization. So this comes when you're scaling up. There are different tools available to optimize your cost on cloud, and also we host a bunch of workshops throughout the year. Plus, we also have the solution architect support to do a cost optimization review for you and also help you with that. Next come the trainings. So trainings are free resources. So we have over 500 free training courses available at AWS.training. So you can get your team trained through this. There are, depending on what role you are in, what domain or expertise level, you can access all the courses through this at free of cost. And all are delivered by experts from AWS. So it's free of cost and it's online. So you can check it out on AWS.training. Another interesting program is AWS Connections. So Connections is, it's an interesting program where we connect our startup customers with our enterprise customers. So basically, enterprises comes to us with a lot of use cases where they're looking for solutions. So what we do is we check in our startup base. If we have an existing startup already innovating in that space, then we do matchmaking between the enterprise and the startup. So this typically comes in a stage where you are, either in the validation or growth stage. So this is done once you join the Activate program, depending on what stage you are in. You get access to our enterprise customers as well. Next is a program by Amazon. So if you have a physical product that you want to sell on Amazon.in, then Amazon Launchpad is a program for you. So the Amazon Launchpad team basically helps you with the operational, sales, and marketing support that you need in terms of growing your product. This program is it's a like you need to apply for it, and it's evaluated on a case by case basis. So the product also needs to be ready to ship as well. So you can check out the Amazon Launchpad website to get more information on this. Um, Another one is Alexa Fund. So Alexa Fund is a like $100 million fund set up by the Amazon Alexa team. So this is to basically invest in startups, developers who are innovating in the voice technology space. So if you have, if you're working in the field of voice technology or in terms of hardware or any technology that gives new skills to Alexa, then this is the program for you. So this program will also give an equity-based investment plus early access to some of our SDKs, and you also get to work very closely with the Alexa team. Plus, you will also get marketing support and opportunity to get featured on different Amazon events, including the event. So this is that program. So you can check out the website for more information on Alexa Fund. Yeah, so these are the quick overview of different programs. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll also like to introduce you to your startup account managers. So we have dedicated account managers who work closely with the startups. So Prashant is already here. These are the contacts of startup account managers based in South. So if you have any questions, or if you need architecture reviews or any of the support, you can always reach out to them. Yeah, I will just pause here to take the questions. I think I have to just stop sharing the screen to see the questions.
There is one question in the Q&A section, if you could see.
Sorry, I'm just going through it.
Yeah.
Prashant, can you help me with the question? Sorry, I'm not able to find it.
Yeah, sure. I'll read it out for you.
Sure.
So
yeah,
being startup, yeah. The question is from Girinath Pillai. So he has asked, being Startup India recognized, how to get AWS to get activated for the startup credits? Do you provide instances on AWS support program?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, we have a bunch of Activate providers across the country. So Kerala Startup Mission is one of it. Then we also have Startup India as well. So if you're associated with any of them, you could contact the team and you could apply for the Activate program. So through which you get a certain amount of AWS credits plus the business support credits as well. So hope I answered the question.
We have to activate AWS first, right, to access AWS training. So related to the AWS training, this question is, they have asked like, we have to activate AWS first to access the AWS training. Do we have to activate AWS first to access the AWS training? That's the question.
Okay, Prashant, can you answer that question?
You need not activate. See, the good thing to have is an AWS account, but with your email address itself, you'll be able to access most of the trainings, the training content. Sure. And I see from Yogendra, there is a question. May I know what are the technical compute limitations in order to consider it as a startup? There are no technical compute limitations as such. It is purely business oriented call. If you are registered with Startup India or Kerala Startup Mission, then you will be considered as a startup. Even if you are not registered, maybe we'll case on case basis, we consider companies as startups and provide you with these credits. So that should not be a problem.
They have requested for the account manager details once again. Maybe we
Sure.
could paste that on the chat. And,
Yes.
okay. And the next question is, I mean, to apply or qualify for AWS credit, is it required to be associated with KSM or such Activate partners?
Yes, so there are two programs in Activate. So one is the Founders Program, which is publicly open, where you get $1,000 in AWS credits and like a $350 in developer support. This is open to everyone. So if you're a startup, you are having an active functioning website, and if you're unfunded or any stage, you can apply for this. There's another program called Portfolio, which offers a slightly higher amount of credits. So that you get only through our Activate portfolio providers. So Kerala Startup Mission is one, and then you have different incubators, accelerators, VC firms, etc. So yes, you need to be associated with one of these providers to be eligible for the Activate portfolio.
Setu, in the interest of time, maybe we can move forward.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I'll keep answering all the questions. And if I'm not able to answer some of the questions, you always have my contact. You can send out emails to me.
Sure.
Sure.
Over to you,
All right.
Naveen. Yeah, Setu.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you. Just a minute. Let me share my screen. Just a minute. Just a minute. Hope you could see my screen now.
Yes.
Yes, Naveen.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so yeah, good morning, everyone. So welcome to today's session. I'm Naveen Kumaran, Solutions Architect here at Amazon. I also have Krishna with me, who is a Senior Solutions Architect with Amazon. So we'll be discussing a few interesting things here with you today about AWS and how you could leverage AWS for your success. So this is the agenda for today. So we will be touching upon each and every of these aspects, which are pretty essential for any startup who would want to have their cloud infrastructure provisioned on AWS cloud. So we might not dive deep into each and every of these sections. We will cover on the macro level in each and every of these. Please feel free to catch up with us post this session. We have provided the account manager information. You can get in touch with us, and based on your specific use case, we can deep dive and try to understand what will really make sense for you in terms of having your architecture set up and to build a successful infrastructure for you on AWS cloud. So in this agenda, we will discuss on few key concepts, features, and services on AWS cloud, which will enable you to build and scale your startup on AWS. We will start with the brief introduction of AWS, and then we will take things forward. Yeah. So, okay. So initially, I would like to spend a minute or two on to explain on why we really need a cloud infrastructure. So unlike the legacy way, moving to cloud allows customers to innovate faster, concentrate on developing their applications rather than heavy lifting managing their infrastructure or the data centers. In addition to this, cloud also provides you with agility and unlimited scalability. So if it is in the legacy way of doing things, if you would need an infrastructure for some of your urgent business needs, you would have to plan it much more upfront so that you ensure that the required capacity is available to you to cater to your business needs. Whereas if in terms of cloud, the scalability is unlimited, right? So you get things on demand. So you need not have to worry about to put forward a request upfront to make sure that you have the available resources. So that attention is taken away from you. You can feel free to have and launch all the required resources as you wish. And reliability of the services is ensured because this is a global infrastructure which is managed and maintained by AWS. I'll touch upon the shared responsibility model as well in a bit. And all this comes with lower cost, and at most, even providing with all this agility, scalability, reliability, and with low cost, you have all these services with maximum security. So that is one thing which really will encourage you to make to have all your to have your entire infrastructure provisioned on the AWS cloud. So so why customers choose AWS? That's the next question, right? There are multiple providers available. So why customers choose AWS? Like in addition to all these which has been mentioned here, it is the breadth and depth of the services we offer. And the key differentiator among the cloud provider is the breadth and depth of the services. So the services and the way in which those services are available and helps the customers in their specific needs is the key differentiator when it comes to AWS. And of course, as AWS has its regional presence across the globe, we continually expand our regional presence. There are few regions which are coming up soon in various parts of the world. In India, to be specific, we will have a region in Hyderabad, which is coming soon. So based on the reasonable preference, if you have customers across the globe, you can feel free to have the infrastructure launched for a specific customer in any of the region as you wish, based on their compliance and security requirements. So that also is possible with AWS, which really will come in handy for you in terms of providing encapsulated environment provision for your customer. So now, as you might already be aware of, AWS is recognized as the cloud leader for the 10th consecutive year. So this is not something easy to achieve due to the consistent performance and the way in which we have supported our customers. We have made this possible. So this is something which really will boost your spirit to have trust on AWS. So coming to the benefits, as we already discussed about, the major benefits will be about the security, availability, performance, scalability, and flexibility. And all these comes with lower cost. So AWS takes more care in the way in which they tailor make the services for the customer needs. In fact, the entire roadmap which we have for our future initiatives and development, it is more focused and based on the customer's needs. So as and when a customer raises a particular requirement, we internally raise that, and that has been cumulatively analyzed, and based on that we take our roadmap. So that really helps us to release services which really make sense for the customers. And also the way in which we do, we will make sure that we have that delivered at a lower cost as much as possible for our customers. So when it comes to cloud, so usually you might have had experience with data centers or some of the shared hosting services where you would have had previous experiences. So when it comes to cloud, AWS cloud, there is a thin line in between the responsibility. So responsibility in AWS is a shared responsibility model. So here, for each and every of the services, there is a part for which the customer is responsible for, and there is a part for which AWS is responsible. So this responsibility differentiation there is a thin line between that. It is based on the service which you use. Say, for example, if you are using EC2 service, then the hardware infrastructure and the computed storage and the database network, so those kind of sections which comes under the control of AWS will have control over them. Whereas in terms of AWS service, we provide that VM to you with the root user, right? So you will be responsible for taking care of the network protection, the OS which you run in that, the application which you run in that, the data which you run within that, also the the encryption and the integrity in which you have your data provision. So all those things you'll have to take care of that. As you can see from just a minute. So as you can see from left to right, when you move, the customer responsibility is becoming pretty less, because like say for example in the infrastructure services, wherein AWS responsibility is only a minimum, whereas the customer responsibility is more. That is the nature of the particular service. So whereas if you see in the container services like some RDS, so here till the platform application management is AWS responsibility, because that is the managed service offering which we provide, due to which the customer shall only manage and maintain the customer data, the client-side encryption, the firewall configuration related to that particular service. So those are the things which you need to manage and maintain. As you move more towards the right, there are certain services like S3, DynamoDB, KMS. So these are some of the services. As an example, I have put up. There are multiple services available which will fall into these categories. So the point here is like understand the responsibility of each and every of the services, where AWS takes the responsibility, and from where you should make sure that you take care of your data. So this is one thing which you should understand and be clear when you start your journey with AWS. So now that we understood, now that we saw on like what is the responsibility model and how you will have to think of AWS cloud services. So let's start with the big picture. So once you have your AWS accounts created, even before you get started, like to put your resources and build your applications in AWS, you should think of a governance pattern. So how will you manage and maintain all your accounts? So what do you plan? Like how do you have your infrastructure provisions? That is something which you should definitely think through. So AWS organizations, there is a service called AWS organizations, which we really recommend you to start with. So AWS organization is an account management service that enables you to consolidate multiple AWS accounts into an organization. So now the question will come, why should I manage and maintain multiple AWS accounts? Instead, like I just would want to have it in a single account, but having multiple accounts is not going to cost you. In turn, it's the other side, like having multiple accounts is going to help you in terms of having well subdivided and specific group of entities and entities put up. So say for example, you will have a management account which will take care of managing and maintaining each and every of your member accounts, and you shall make sure that it is governed in a centralized place. So by having things governed in a centralized location, you can make sure that that will not be shared with any other users, so that under a security event, this will stand out as a separate account which you can use for controlling each and every of your accounts. And you can have a separate log archive account where you manage and maintain your logs in a global manner. You can have a security account where you can have all your security services put up, so that will be the account from where you govern and control each and every of your accounts. So having multiple accounts, as I mentioned earlier, is not going to cost you, because once you have the AWS organization set up, the master account, which means the management account, will be the consolidated billing account, wherein each and every of the bills of your corresponding accounts will be consolidated, and you will be paying bills for that. And above the governance aspect, there is another aspect to it. Say, for example, you are having a development account and production account in a single account. So if you would want to get a business support, you will have to pay a particular percentage of your entire bill as business support. That will not be the case if you subdivide them. So for example, your production account is divided and the development account is divided. You can get business support for a production account, wherein the spend which you make on the business support is going to be the exactly required amount, not anything more than that, right? So you can control that, and also you can avoid the development activity and the development infrastructure interacting with your production infrastructure. While development, there are chances for users to misconfigure, or by mistake, by human errors can happen, and due to that there can be any data deletions, there can be security issues. Maybe if the users have put up their access keys and secret keys in some of their code, and if that get leaks and if the account is compromised, only your development environment will be affected. Rather, your production account will always be intact and secure. So we should make sure that at most we have each and every of your accounts subdivided. Say for example, you have a staging account separated from your development as well as production account. So make sure that you have each and every of your accounts logically separated, and this separation should be based on your business needs. So in that way, you can form a well-defined organization structure. So I will get to that organizational structure part. So this is how a typical organization structure will look like. So if you see, there will be a root account. Just a minute. Yeah. If you see, there will be a root account. This is the main account where you will have your organizations put up, and you will have a management account. The management account will be a no workload account, wherein you will not have any resources running in this. You will just have CloudTrail enabled. CloudTrail will make sure that it captures each and every of the API interactions which you have in all your AWS accounts. So that will track and have that logged. So you need not have to worry about. I mean, later if you need to understand what happens in each and every of the account, you can very well go ahead and understand that from the CloudTrail logs. And we have something called as OUs. OUs are nothing but organizational units. So you can group a particular set of accounts under a OU. Say for example, in development, you can have multiple projects, or maybe there might be different departments in the development. You can have them. You can create a single account for each and every department, so that you understand who spends how much, and also their entire infrastructure can be isolated from the other department. And you can group them under a single OU, and you can have it nested also. You can have an organizational unit as a subset of another organizational unit you can have. And an organization can or OU can have another OU associated or a member account associated. So this is how the organization structure is. It's basically a tree structure, or the way in which you put up things so that you can have the related hierarchical operations are taken care of, and you will have them consolidated. When I meant hierarchical, I wanted to touch upon the policies. So we have something called as SCPs, the service control policies. These are pretty important. It might not look that important. I mean, when you just understand it from the macro level, but there are certain implications which really will interest you. Say for example, in your AWS account, you have multiple accounts. You will not operate in each and every of the region which AWS is offering. So that is something which you would want to control. If you would want to control each and every of the member account, you will go ahead and make sure that you will have the corresponding fine-tuned policies put up and all that. That becomes tedious when you have lots of accounts. And also, if you would want to make a change, then you'll have to run around and make all those changes in each and every of these accounts. So that is something which can be avoided. So SCP is nothing but the service control policies can be associated either to an organizational unit, or a policy can be associated to an organization unit, or it can be directly associated to a member account. It can be done. So by this, what happens is you have a global control on what you should deny for your particular organization unit or a member account. Say you would want to restrict public bucket creation, you can do. The beauty of it is, like, whenever you have this SCPs put up, even the root user of a particular member account will not be able to make any changes. So that is how secured it is. So say for example, this is a development account. Let's consider that this is a development account for which there is an security incident and someone has gained access to this member account. Even if they want to change anything or maybe launch any services in any of the regions, we could restrict that. Say for example, in your company, you are very certain that you will not launch a particular huge sized machines. If you are definite on only certain AWS instance types, you can have that put up in SCP, and you can have that associated with each and every of these OU or member accounts. So now what happens, even if the attacker gains access to your infrastructure, they will not be able to launch any P3 instances or any high sized instances to which will incur you cost. And in a similar way, you can, I mean, the options are endless. You can have a lot of security put up on this. This is very similar to the IAM policies which we have. So you can have a controlled environment built with organization. So as I mentioned earlier, having multiple accounts is not going to cost you. So I would really encourage you to have a distributed setup rather than having a single account, which will be your root account. And also, as I mentioned, why we have management account as a no workload account, because the SCPs which we put, which means the policies which we put, will not take effect on the management account, because that will be a case. Say for example, if I'm putting a policy and I'm just getting logged out of my own management account, that will be a case, that will not be a good case, right? So that is one rationale behind not providing, SCP is not able to imply over on the management account. So yeah, understand that management, any SCPs you have will not have effect on the management account. So have the management account as a no workload account, and other accounts can be separated. Okay. So moving on. So this is the summary. So you have an organization, you create an account, you add the accounts, you group the accounts as OUs, apply the relevant policies, and enable AWS services. In this way, you will have it as an organized way in which you can have more control over infrastructure rather than just having an open AWS account, which might be a vulnerable thing. So when you start, let's start with a strong basement so that we don't so essential baseline and essential services, as you are starting with. So these are some of the services in each and every of these segments which I have mentioned, which you shall leverage. Say for example, in compute, it's EC2, Lambda, or Spot instances. So based on your need, you should pick your AWS services. Say for example, you need to have a monolithic service which is to be built, then you can have EC2, or maybe you can have an auto-scaled EC2 setup. If you would want to go serverless, choose Lambda. If you would want to run a batch operation, which is going to, which can accommodate any interruption in your processing, then you can leverage Spot instances, because I believe you understand Spot instances. So they have spare capacities which are available at 90% at most of 90% savings. So you can leverage all this. Similar goes with each and every of the other provided services. Say for example, storage. If you would want to use EBS, you can use EBS, or if you would want to have a common storage across multiple EC2 instances, you could leverage EFS. So it depends. So there are multiple choice of services which are available. Understand each and every of the services and choose them wisely, which really will make sense for you, for your application, for your business needs, and understand the way in which you will interact with the service, because that can have an effect in the way in which your bill might incur. So understand them and then check on leverage the services. I'd like to quickly touch upon the security aspects in architecture. So this is a sample architecture which we have, wherein I have provisioned my services on 2 different VPCs, and I have VPC peering. The importance of having VPC peering is I can have private communication between my AWS services which is launched. Instead of going through, instead of interacting via the internet, I can have a private communication. Having a private communication and positioning all your resources within a private subnet is pretty essential. so that you will be able to make sure that there is no external access to your resources which you have launched in your private subnet, and only those services which really require internet access, you shall have them provisioned in the public subnet. Say, for example, a load balancer. So this is just an example. So this is not the list of all services which you can launch in public subnet or private subnet. This is just a sample illustration. So I've taken load balancer as an example. So load balancer, you can have it in public subnet, and you can have your auto-scaled EC2 instances working here available here in the EC2, and you can have these auto-scaled instances interacting with your database. So the database can be RDS, it can be an individual database, it can be DynamoDB, Redshift, or whatever. So so now what happens is when your instances interact with RDS, they interact in with private communication rather than public. So it is safe and secure. So you may not have to worry about any external entity gaining access to your resources, because by design it will be denied. So you may not have to worry about that. And always make sure that you leverage the associated services accordingly, to make sure that you have a controlled interaction between the services. Just that all services are available in private subnet doesn't mean that you should allow access to anything and everything. You should be very specific in what access you provide to what services. You can leverage AWS IAM roles to leverage that. And one kind suggestion here: do not use access keys and secret keys for all your inter-service, which means machine-to-machine communications. Please don't leverage access keys and secret keys. Try leveraging roles. So if you leverage roles, that will be an organized way of doing, so that it will it will provide you temporary credentials in an automated fashion. You may not have to manage and rotate each and every of your access keys and secret keys. And also, having access keys and secret keys are a bit vulnerable. If by chance or by any human error, if it gets leaked, then the attacker can gain access to all the permissions which the particular access key and secret key has. So make sure that can be, that is followed. Similar goes with the case if you even have a containerized environment, roles can be utilized for easiest tasks as well. So make sure that you are leveraging roles, and always make sure that you enable your CloudTrail logs, so you understand what happens in your infrastructure. And for all your sensitive information, so say for example, you have your DB endpoints, or you have any configurational sensitive tokens, usernames, passwords, try to leverage AWS Secrets Manager to manage that for you, so that your code will not have anything else other than the just the business logic in it. You will have all your sensitive informations and secrets managed in the Secrets Manager. And for encryption, you can leverage KMS, which Krishna will touch upon in a bit in his session. So, and yeah, for your object store, try to leverage S3, and definitely monitor all your resources in CloudWatch to make sure that you understand on what happens on each and every of these services, and you try to make sure that you take necessary steps, either being a proactive or a reactive action. You can make sure that you're being alerted and notified of any happenings within your resources. So this is about how you will position and go around with your services in a typical AWS infrastructure. So I would suggest Krishna to take this forward and explain on the benefits of how you go ahead and have a scalable and highly secured environment. Over to you, Krishna.
Yeah, hey Naveen, could you continue to share your screen?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Can you move on to the next slide, please?
Yes.
So I'll start with high availability and scalability with the little basics, right? As Naveen touched upon earlier, we'll briefly look at the AWS Global Infrastructure. So with the AWS Global Infrastructure, we use something called regions. There are about 24 regions worldwide. A region is nothing but a geographical area within the globe, right? So next slide. Within each of these regions, we have what is called an availability zone. And availability zones is nothing but a cluster of data centers, and they are physically apart by at least 100 kilometers, right? So in case of an event where you have the one availability zone completely down, the resources on the other availability zone is up and functional. And this is some of the basic setup that AWS has to achieve high availability. Next slide. Look at a basic web application architecture that leverages this infrastructure. As you can see, you have 3 layers: web layer, app layer, and RDS, database layer, right? So instead of spinning up these resources in one subnet, we will, one availability zone. In this architecture, we'll be spinning the resources in multiple availability zones, so that even if in case of failure, complete failure in one availability zone, you still have the resources available in the second availability zone, and your application is not completely down. As you can see in the web layer, we have web servers in 2 availability zones, availability zone A and availability zone B, and they are front-ended with a load balancer. So just in case one availability zone is completely down, the request will be routed by the load balancer into the second into the web server that is available in the second availability zone. Similarly, if there is a failure, let's say in app instance in availability zone A, then because we have a elastic load balancer between web layer and app layer, that elastic load balancer will route the request into the second into the app server that is running on the second availability zone. So this is one way you can achieve the high availability and fault tolerance. In case a region is completely down, we can have a replicated setup in a separate region, and that's a whole different DR concept. But if you're just talking about high availability, we recommend that you spin up these resources in multiple availability zones with auto scaling enabled between them. When we talk about auto scaling, what it means is that let's say there is a burst in your workload. Let's say a Prime Day, you're running an e-commerce website and you're having a Prime Day event, and you can get a burst of this user request. So you can define an auto scaling group in such a way that you will have your instances grow up according to the usage patterns. Next slide. So if we expand on the high availability and scalability a little bit more, I'll talk about a specific use case which is very relevant to our times, right? So Coca-Cola, they have this drink vending machines all over the US and Europe. So they have an immediate problem to solve. The problem with this is it's a touch-based, which means that during the time of pandemic, you can easily spread it, right? So they want to create a touchless architecture where using a mobile app, you order the drink, and if you go to the kiosk or the vending machine here, it will automatically be able to dispense. Think about the complexity when if you have to deploy this kind of a solution worldwide, and that too immediately, right? So as Naveen briefly touched upon earlier, there are serverless options within AWS, Lambda being one of them, right? So Coca-Cola has been able to deploy this app and the solution across the globe with AWS Lambda without having to worry about the scale, security, and other aspects of it. Customers are increasingly adopting serverless architectures in their applications, and the more usage is on Lambda. Next slide. So we have thousands of customers and trillions of Lambda executions per month. The beauty of Lambda execution is you don't have to worry about spinning up of the infrastructure and your capacity planning, because it is a managed service and you only pay for the number of invocations. You will get a highly scalable, fault-tolerant application architecture and with minimum code. So as we saw earlier, like in the multi-AZ setup, you have to do a lot of management tasks. But with Lambda, that is all managed for you, and it is taken care by AWS. Next slide. So why are customers adapting to serverless first strategy, right? Because it is highly agile in the sense like you will be able to experiment a lot Performance, as I said, like because it is a completely managed service and it scales according to the number of requests that are coming in. So you don't have to worry about the performance, and you only pay for the number of invocations. So it is cost effective as well. And plus it is built on a continuously improving security model. So which means the services are provided are highly secure. So in every case, we recommend wherever you have a managed service option that is available in AWS infrastructure, you go with it rather than trying to build something of your own, because there are so many aspects that we built into each of these services, depending upon our usage, our experience with the different kinds of customers over the years. So we were able to incorporate those best practices into these managed services. That is what we recommend as well. Next slide. So Naveen briefly touched upon the encryption. So encryption is a very important concept when it comes to compliance. Specifically, let's say you're building a financial services application or you're building a healthcare application. Encryption is very, security, data security is very important aspect. And when it comes to data security, there are two aspects that you have to worry about: encryption in transit and then encryption at rest, right? So all the data transmission within the AWS services are over HTTPS, and that provides the transport layer security. Whereas when you talk about the services like S3, the encryption is enabled by default. When you have when you talk about encryption at rest, we have two options. From a broader perspective. We have a server-side encryption and we have client-side encryption. So when you talk about server-side encryption, we really are talking about encryption at the target. Let's say you are uploading a Word document into an S3 bucket, right? So the object is encrypted just before you store that object into the S3 bucket, and it is decrypted right before you access it. That's the server-side encryption. So AWS takes care of it, and there are three mechanisms that it uses to do that. You have the S3 managed keys. And you also have a KMS, key management service, that is provided by AWS, where the customer can put the key into the KMS, and that is what will be used to do the server-side encryption. We also have the customer provided key option as well. When it comes to client-side encryption, you encrypt the data before you upload into the respective service. So that's the client-side encryption. So you can leverage AWS Encryption SDK for doing so. Next slide. So what are the benefits that you get out of the encryption? So it's a one-time setup. It automatically encrypts all the objects. So which means you are compliant with the requirements of the applications or the respective financial area that you are trying to build your application for. Okay, and there are multiple options, as we just saw, that are available when you are trying to encrypt. So yeah, can you move on? Now, Naveen also talked about the CloudWatch. So what CloudWatch provides is it provides a unified view of your metrics and logs across all your AWS resources, which you will be able to use to monitor and act upon it, right? Basically, let's say there is a metric that goes beyond a certain threshold. Let's say CPU goes beyond 90%. You want to be able to monitor it and do some action on it, right? So you can actually put some auto scaling rule in such a way that let's say my CPU goes beyond 90%, spin up additional resources and add them into your auto scaling group. So once you have all the metrics and logs, you will also be able to analyze, visualize all those things in one single interface. Next slide. So we just briefly touched upon these benefits, basically the observability of including the logging, metrics, and alerting. So we want to get a unified view of all your resources in AWS and on premises in one single interface. So you could achieve that with CloudWatch. With this, your operational efficiency will be improved. And you can also with the metrics that you collect in your CloudWatch, you'll be able to define an actionable insights. So AWS CloudWatch collects the logs from all the services that are listed here, EC2 instances, on-premise servers, even the VPC flow logs flow into the AWS CloudWatch. CloudTrail, Naveen touched upon it. Basically, you can use it to track various user actions within your AWS resources, the Lambda invocations, and you have about 70 services that you can push the logs into the CloudWatch. Next slide. The metrics that CloudWatch provides are like CPU utilization, memory utilization, stuff like that. And you can gather this information from many of the AWS services, about 70 of them. So the beauty of it is you don't have to enable any of this in it. By default, they will be enabled to go into CloudWatch. Next one. You can also define custom metrics to be pushed into CloudWatch. For example, you want to track a user activity, or you want to track, let's say, some specific error. Let's say the account balance falls below 0. You will be able to create a metric for that, and you will be able to push it into CloudWatch and monitor them at all one place. Next one. Next slide. Yeah, we've touched upon the alarms that we can get out of CloudWatch. Depending upon the metric that you are trying to monitor, you can define alarms on it if it goes beyond a certain threshold, and you can take an action on it in an automated way. For example, you can choose to receive a notification. You can use the auto scaling action to actually spin up additional resources. You can even, for example, if you see some suspicious activity, you can automate it in an automated way. You can stop or terminate the resources. Okay, so this is one very important concept, the logs and metrics correlation, right? So typically in an enterprise, you would use different types of tools to do the log aggregation as well as the metrics collection. For example, an organization may choose to use a tool like Splunk to do the log collection, and let's say Prometheus to do the metrics collection. But with CloudWatch, you get a unified interface where you can actually coordinate and correlate the metrics as well as the logs information at one single interface. Let's say there is an issue, and you want to look at what happened at that particular time. You can look at both the logs as well as the metrics in one single interface. Yeah, that's what those are the services that CloudWatch provides. Now, let's look at what are the ML capabilities that AWS provides. Next slide. So as you guys know, like now machine learning is actually part of pretty much all the apps, and that's going to be the future, and the scope is going to be expanding pretty rapidly over years. Right, we have different customers of various sizes that are leveraging AWS machine learning capabilities, right? From Capital One, Liberty Mutual, 3M. There are many big customers of all, and even the small customers too. So they are increasingly putting their workloads on AWS machine learning setup. We'll look at the AWS ML stack. Basically, the AWS ML stack is divided into 3 layers. The bottom layer is for the expert ML practitioners who are very good at building, training, and deploying machine learning models. They are comfortable in not more than, they're comfortable in more than one ML frameworks. They may be comfortable in TensorFlow, PyTorch, MXNet, Caffe, and so on, right? So we know that each of these frameworks can be leveraged for a specific type of use cases, and we give them the complete, the ML practitioners, the complete freedom to what framework they want to run their work, their ML models on, and what infrastructure to run their models on, right? Inference is one of the big aspects when it comes to machine learning, because that comprises about 90% of the cost, right? So AWS has specifically designed inference machines that you can leverage to build those inference models at a much cheaper rate. At the middle layer, we have the data scientists who want to be able to focus on the data science but not to worry about the underlying. They are not so much on technology side, but they are very comfortable with the data science models and stuff like that. So for them, we provide a service called Amazon SageMaker. With SageMaker, they will be able to use the existing algorithms, or they will be able to create their own ML models, deploy them in one single user interface. There is a SageMaker Studio, and that you can use to track your notebooks, your workloads, and all your instances in one place and manage them in one place. At the top of the stack, you have the AI services, which are like for everyday developers. They are not so much into data science, or they are not ML practitioners. So what they are like any regular developers who are comfortable with, let's say, using a REST API, right? So we have AI services for vision. For example, AWS Amazon Recognition is one such service that you can use. There are services like Poly, Lex, Personalize, stuff like that you can leverage in your applications without having to worry about what is the algorithm behind it and what is the ML model behind this. We'll look at one of the use case. Next slide. So this is a simple use case where a customer is trying to upload set of images, right? And number one, in the step one, you are seeing that the customer is uploading images into S3. But because they uploaded an image into S3, and Lambda function gets triggered, and the Lambda calls Amazon Recognition using that handle to that image, and Recognition will identify the facial attributes of the image that was of the persons that are present in that image. So the facial details are again flattened as a CSV and kept in another Amazon S3 bucket. So that will be read by a service like Amazon Athena. Amazon Athena is like it can be used to run SQL-like queries on the data that is residing on S3. And using that service, you'll be able to quickly put that data into the Amazon QuickSight dashboard, right? With this simple architecture, all of them are managed services. So the code amount of all you need to do is to do the plugging in. With all these things, you will write minimum amount of code, but you are building a powerful application which takes in an image data, and it will show a dashboard that contains the customer sentiment. Next slide, Naveen. Yeah, now we'll talk about the cost optimization on AWS. Cost optimization is one of the main pillar in well-architected tool that AWS provides. A well-architected tool is a service that is provided by AWS, where you can assess your workloads for operation excellence. It's a series of questionnaire that you have to go through, and that will determine whether your workloads and the design that you are having are compliant with all the pillars that we defined as part of it. So cost optimization being one of those pillars. Next slide. So as you know, as you guys might already be knowing, like there are three kinds of pricing that AWS provides, especially for compute resources. We have on-demand, reserved, and spot. And on-demand is pay as you go. You pay by the hour for your usage. With the reserved pricing model, you have two options: saving plans as well as standard reserved instances. With savings plan, upon a certain commitment level, like for 1 or 3 years, you will get a deep discount about 70%. With the standard reserved instances, you will be able to spin up your workloads like Elasticache, DynamoDB, and stuff like that. And same, just like the savings plan, with a commitment of 1 year or 3 years, you will get a good savings. Spot is, as Naveen touched earlier, it's an unused capacity within EC2 instances. You set your maximum price that you are willing to pay for your EC2 instances, and if the capacity is available, you get that capacity for the time. These are especially useful for very stateless kind of applications, which are fault tolerant, meaning like, let's say you are running a Jenkins build, right? Those worker instances can be kept on spot instances, so that you don't have to run them continuously. And when they are available, the Jenkins build get triggered. Those are not mission critical, and those are for those kinds of workloads you could leverage spot. Next slide. So with cost optimization, the key tenets are you do the right sizing. For example, are you using the right instances and the right instance types for your application? Are you leveraging the savings plan where your workloads are fit for a spot market? And are you leveraging some of the tools like Cost Explorer, which gives you deeper insight into what are the things that you're incurring most of your costs on? You can use Trusted Advisor, which gives you recommendations for what would be the better way to design your workloads and what kind of instances would better fit for you. And of course, we just talked about the well-architected review that you can do within your within AWS console. Yeah. So common areas that you'll try to investigate when it comes to cost optimization is are you putting your workloads on the right region, right? Like for example, US West 2 is much cheaper when it comes to pricing than US West 1. So you're better off putting your resources on US West 2, right? So whether you need your resources 24/7, right? Some of those things you don't need it. For example, a developer instance, you don't need it at night unless it's an extraordinary scenario, right? So things like that. You can also look at aspects like multi-AZ. We touched upon the multi-AZ deployment. Not all workloads need a multi-AZ deployment. You could as well go with a single AZ deployment for non-critical workloads and databases, and you'll be able to save costs, right? Similarly, the account sprawl means like, did you shut down all your accounts which are not used? Storage tiers, S3, for example, if your application stores a huge amount of data on S3, you could leverage S3 storage tiers to save money. Things like this you can investigate to assess if you are using the AWS resources in a cost optimized way. Yeah. So this is a Cost Explorer view, that tool that you get with AWS console, which will show you a report that contains report and analytics that contains the detailed view of what resources are costing you more. So you could leverage this tool. And we touched upon the Trusted Advisor as well. So the Trusted Advisor gives you the best practices, advises about the best practices and recommendations on a regular basis so that you can optimize your workloads on AWS. So that will give you a good cost optimization and performance.
Yeah, that's the end of the slides.
Okay, yeah, that's all I wanted to cover. I think we're right on time as well.
Yes, Krishna, one more thing I'll just would like to take a minute here and touch upon another thing. It's about tagging. So
okay.
In each and every of the AWS services, you might see that there is a additional option which will be provided to tag your resources. Please make sure that you leverage the tagging and take it a bit seriously. The reason being, tagging plays a vital role in terms of setting your budgets and understanding what happens, like the spend goes where. Say, for example, you're running an R&D and you would want to understand how much your R&D is going to cost you. So once you if you have your resources tagged in a proper fashion, then you can make sure that you can identify that in the Cost Explorer. So in the Cost Explorer, based on the tags, you can filter them and group them. And once you have it grouped, you will be able to identify what that R&D has costed you in terms of AWS cost. So, and in addition to that, there is something called as cost and usage report, which is available. Tag plays a major role there. So it's not only, it's not only okay for you to go ahead and have tags. Make sure that you go and activate those tags in your, in your billing section. There will be an cost allocation tag. Cost allocation tag section towards the left, where you can go ahead and maybe let me see whether we have that. Yes, here, if you see, there is something called as cost allocation tags, right? So here, if you go ahead after having tags properly put up, make sure you go ahead and have the enable the tags here. When you click on this, there will be a list of the list of tags which you have in your entire AWS account will be listed over here. Enable them. Once you enable them, the tag and the associated resources will be mapped in the backend against the cost which is incurred by the resource, so that you can reap the benefit out of it. There is something called as budgets, AWS budgets. Here also you can leverage tags. So you can say for my R&D, if the cost reaches more than $500, you send me an alert. That can be something which can be done. So once you set that, you will be, I mean, after your R&D infrastructure is reaching or crossing more than $500, you will get an alert. In similar fashion, you can, this is the cost and usage report, which I mentioned about. So that can be an hourly report as well as a daily report, which you can manage and maintain. So that will be automated, automatically accumulated in the backend, and it will be available as an Excel report to you, which you can later use for your analysis. Where if you would want to understand in a detailed manner which infrastructure upon what interaction, what cost was incurred for me in a detailed and granular manner, this cost and usage report is the place where you would want to go and have that investigated. You can either have it collected in an hourly fashion or in a daily fashion. So please make sure that you understand the importance of tagging, which plays a major role and acts as a backbone for many of the associated services for you to understand about what happens in terms of cost in your infrastructure. So that is something I just wanted to cover. So that's it from our end. So we are open to take questions. Setu, if there are any questions, can you please project them? I will stop sharing now.
Sure, I'm just sharing my screen. Yeah, so these are the questions that came in the Q&A session.
Yeah. Is it possible to change EC2 instances from managed account to sub accounts under it? So, okay. So to move EC2 accounts, you need to have them migrated. You need to take an AMI and have it migrated across accounts. It will be a typical cross-account migration. It cannot happen as such. It is not something which you allocate here and then take it up there. So I believe you'll have to take the normal way of migrating your EC2 instance to the other account. What are the difference in hosting in different regions? So the difference, there is not much of a difference. It depends on where your actual users are. Say for example, if my users are 90% based in India, then I would want to launch and have the services provisioned here in Mumbai, in India, in an Indian region, and then we can have that taken up. So it depends upon your requirement. Where you have your user base, it makes more sense. And also there are certain compliance requirements. Say for example, there are certain GDPR compliance requirements where customers would want to have their data residing in that particular region itself. So even many other countries also, for some of their compliance needs, they would want to have their data put up in the corresponding region. So in that case, the corresponding services shall be provisioned in that particular region. So that is where region plays a major role. It depends on case-to-case basis on what you need. So there is no hard and fast rule on which should reside. It's upon your preference and your use case. Give me any of use case, like why the requirement comes from VPC peering at enterprise level. See, VPC peering basically is a network enablement which we do. So wherein you are facilitating a private communication within your infrastructure components which are available in one VPC to another VPC. That is when VPC peering comes into play. There are multiple other services also. So you could leverage other networking options as say for example, if you would want to connect from your local machine, you can use client VPN. If you would want your DC application to get in touch with your VPC in a private communication, you could go for site-to-site VPN. So there are transit gateways available to enable the multi-VPC, multi-region communication. So there are multiple options which are available. So with respect to VPC peering, so the peering is nothing but enabling private communication so that no request goes outside the AWS network. So which will enable a secured communication between your infrastructure components. So are you providing, I'll go to the next question. So are you providing application layer encryption on client side? Uh, I I actually am not getting this question, Krishna.
Yeah, that's
what
the
this
same
might
thing
be?
I had. So are we talking about just the client side encryption? If, as I mentioned, like you will be able to leverage AWS Encryption SDK on the client side to do the encryption. But I'm not sure of the question either. Like, are you providing application layer?
Let me take a stab on that. Are you providing application layer encryption on the client side? Okay, so let me just give few pointers here related to encryption. So let's take if you would say, for example, if you would want to have an encrypted object put up in S3, you can either encrypt it from your end and have it uploaded to AWS, or in AWS we do have encryption option using which you can, after the object reaches AWS S3, we can have that encrypted. So sorry, we are not able to understand this question. Maybe see, so please feel free to reach out to us on any questions over email, and also you can connect our account manager who will be happy to schedule a call with us so that we can even have things discussed in a detailed manner. Okay, moving on.
The next question. Yes.
Yeah, Krishna. Yes.
Yeah, the CloudWatch does collect the application logs as well.
So application logs, in the sense that will not be an automated log collection.
Yeah,
you need to make sure that you are putting your logs into CloudWatch. So you'll have to make sure that you have the corresponding configurations to channel and redirect all your application logs into CloudWatch. But make sure you understand the cost implications behind that. If you are having high frequency, huge volume logs which are going to pour in, then better try the other options like Elasticsearch or something to take care of having your logs, or maybe you can put your logs directly into S3. And maybe if say, for example, you just want to store the logs, you would not want to act upon the logs, which means analyze on what is happening in the log, then the better option will be to put the logs into S3 rather than putting them into CloudWatch, because in CloudWatch each and every log which is getting application log which you get into CloudWatch will have a put event. If that is going to be in high frequency, you will incur a huge cost in terms of CloudWatch. So please understand the services and how they operate, and also take more care in understanding the pricing. Okay. So any more questions?
I think that's it on the chat.
Okay, sure. So then
there are a couple of questions on the chat.
Maybe Krishna, Prashant here. Krishna, Navin, Prashant here. Maybe you can start answering these questions on the chat directly.
Yeah, sure.
While Balaji takes over the session.
Yeah.
Over to you, Balaji.
Yes, Balaji.
Thank you, team. Let me share my screen. Okay. I hope it is visible.
Yes.
So, hi everyone. I'm Balaji. I basically take care of the entire engineering team at Service Startup. I have started writing the first lines of code in Service Startup back, in 2017, and I would like to, use this session to talk about how we started. What are the thoughts that we basically, had when we started a company, and with respect to infra, what are the expectations that we had, and how AWS was able to match our expectations. And I wanted to basically talk about the architecture that we had back then when we started as a company, and how we are providing faster experience to our users. And I wanted to give my 2 cents with respect to the people who are onboarding with AWS, what best they can do starting from the beginning. So this is going to be the agenda of my session. And so let me start with the story behind how we basically started as a company, right? Back then in 2016, in my founder and myself, we were working in Freshworks, our ex company, and my founder was basically the business unit head of the entire product there. And at some point, we decided as a company to collect feedback from the employees, every business unit wise, to understand how employees are feeling about the company, and use that as an opportunity to correct or introduce, any new strategies to make, the internal employee engagement, worthwhile, right? And to make sure that the employees are having the best experience possible in the company. And basically, my founder was responsible for doing that activity, and the implementation aspects was handed over to someone else, right? And funnily, the person who was implementing, who was collecting the feedback, had to remind my founder 3-4 times to get feedback from him, uh, right? And if my founder, like the head of business unit back then, who should be more interested in feedback, he himself is taking that much reminder to give a feedback. You can think about the kind of feedback that we will get from the employees, right? So that basically we were in a thought process of starting something, and that gave us a trigger, like how we can ensure that we can have a better conversion rate in terms of this feedback collection in this data collection industry, and how we can make it more engaging, because back then most of the service platforms, and just by opening it itself, because generally feedback collection is a thankless job. No one is going to pay you money to give the data, right? And most of the times we all know that how many emails we are getting asking us to rate the service that we have used, but very few we basically respond. It goes on like that. So how we can improve the engagement aspect so that the stakeholders can get the meaningful data at the right time, so that they can take better decisions. That was the whole thought process that we had at that point. And by 2017, like, we entered the market with a unique idea of introducing service in chat. And right now, a lot of the leading survey providers, our competitors, everyone is kind of having, chat service. But believe me, at that point when we started, we were the one who basically, came up with the idea. And then, it was basically adapted quite. And that was our unique selling point. And right now, after we started as a feedback collection tool, we realized that we have huge potential, not just be a tool which helps to create questionnaires, shares with the people, get insights, but we have huge potential to position ourselves as an experience management platform. That's when we started doing, we started doing multiple other smaller products inside our platform itself. That itself is a different product out there. And we try to basically, package it as a whole, as a bundle, and position ourselves as an experience management platform. Right now, we provide a classic service. It's a regular form service through which people can collect instant feedback. We provide chat service, the USP with which we came into the market, which basically guaranteed higher conversion rates compared to the normal service. And we provide offline devices that helps people to put on kiosks. Probably people have visited PVR. They could have seen, once you come out of restroom, you have a kiosk where you give the feedback. How was the experience? Like, things like that, right? So that can be leveraged with Service Sparrow offline device. And we provide net promoter score. People who have used Zomato, Swiggy, or any of the popular services, after they use the service, they will basically get the instant feedback about how they feel about the service in 1 to 10 scale. Then they bucket the feedback into promoter, detractor, and passives, right? So that is something that we basically provide. And the trigger, which basically pushed us, the employee engagement. For that as well, we provide a different segment altogether. And altogether, we are right now, positioning ourselves as an experience management platform. We provide, stronger automations to basically integrate our platform into, any of the workflows that customers are having. And our platform doesn't make any sense, if we are not providing meaningful insights for the stakeholders to make decisions, right? So for that, we provide with variety of services, executive dashboard, customer reports, in the suite of business intelligence features. And we also provide a way for our customers to engage with their users who are feeling bad about their service through our ticket management solution, response management. People who are giving bad feedback, they can immediately get in touch with the customer, and they can resolve the problem by creating it as a ticket, and they can basically follow up. That is done by our response management, and we provide n number of ways to share the way they can collect the feedback, right? Email, link, SMS, QR code, WhatsApp, and a lot of other ways. So we are trying to position ourselves as an omni-channel in that category. So these are basically the services that we provide right now as a company. And yeah, let's basically get back to business, why we basically have this session, right? When we started as a company, we decided our tech stack, and we decided how our product is going to be, and we started doing research on our product market fit. And at that point, we wanted to choose how we are going to set the foundation of our infra, because in the previous sessions as well, when Naveen and Krishna was explaining about they have high availability and a lot of things with respect to how we can leverage services as AWS. It's very important. They basically mentioned one point. It's very important to set the foundation right, and once your foundation is right, you can easily add things on top. You can remove things on top. You can have the flexibility to enhance it. If your base foundation itself is strong, then you will go through frequent iterations in correcting the basic problem that you have created itself. So we were really sure about setting the foundation right from the beginning itself, and we had plotted down few of the points that we need to address before taking a decision on how we can set this foundation right. So one of the major aspect of our product is visits. I can give you a perspective of how visits can be important for the product. Let's say we basically get into the industry. Let's say an e-commerce site which is very popular, has a lot of concurrent users, is purchasing our tool for the premium subscription, the normal subscription, and they can embed our tool in their site to collect feedback from the users, right, who are spending some time in the site. How did you basically rate? Or they can integrate our tool after someone basically buys something, right? You could immediately visualize that the amount of concurrent requests your application is going to get just by putting your widget in one high volume site, right? So and we can quickly if we ramp up as a product, and if we somehow become viral, and if a lot of customers are onboarding, we predicted the possibility of quickly being available in a lot of such sites, and there will be lots and lots of requests that is coming to our servers. That is one major factor. Even though we are not getting responses, every site load based on how our client has implemented, they could have lazy loaded it, or they could have just implemented showing the widget right when someone is opening the website asynchronously. So every one of their visit is going to contribute to our visit as well. And not just one customer, we could have such highly concurrent multiple customers. So there is a high possibility of having a lot of visits. That is one important factor that we basically consider. The second one is data, obviously, because we are in the data collection industry, and we are going to have lots and lots of data flowing in, and we need to have the right set of ways to process the data, handle the data, store the data, and somehow provide better experience continuously with even when our when the load of our data is basically increasing, right? And the third major factor is the burst-in load. Unlike any normal application, we are going to not have basically we are not going to have the uniform load. There could be a high customer onboarding, high paying customer onboarding on a day one, and for 10 consecutive days he might be just spending his time in creating the service, which might not contribute to much of a load. But once all these things are done, let's say one fine day, on a one fine scheduled day, he is basically sending the survey through our email channel to 10 million people. Right. So here we will be suddenly having burst of load in our email share worker that is going to process 10 million emails altogether, and customer might expect the moment he clicks the button email to be delivered to all his end users. Right. So that is going to be burst and load. And the second, once the users receive, probably if they have a time limit of responding to that survey in 2 hours, let's say if it is a quiz, we can again expect those many visits happening in a particular period of time, right? So obviously over the time when we grow as a product, when we have a lot of customers, this burst-in load might reduce because we'll always be having high number of load, and we would have scaled to that point. But when we started as a company, we realized that at some point we are going to have our servers are going to basically churn out a lot of processing, but at some point our servers are going to stay idle with a little bit of processing. That is one important factor while we basically started this, and that basically leads to the consideration of scalability and elasticity, right? When there is a burst in load, we should be able to scale up. We should be able to provision additional capacities for our servers. And when there is no load, or when there is the uniform load, we should be able to scale down. That basically belongs to the elasticity, right? How when you stretch a rubber, when you again leave it, how it comes back to the shape. The same way, when we scale up, we should be able to scale up, and when there is no burst in load, we should be able to scale down as well. These are the two important criteria we wanted to start with, because we didn't know when we are going to find our product market fit, and when we are going to get viral, and when we will start having lots and lots of load. So we wanted to be prepared from the day one, and these were the major considerations to take. And one important thing is we wanted to build a world-class product, and when we are going to, and across the globe, and when we wanted to have that, we realized that with our previous product development experience as well, we realized that once we onboard customers, they are going to ask, hey, can I host my data in EU? Because I have to align to my GDPR requirements. Or can I have my data in Australian data center? Things like that is going to happen. And the solution that we are going to choose, we wanted it to have real good region support. Even if you're going to start with couple of regions at the beginning. We started with US Virginia and Frankfurt, to give you guys the specific details, like 2 data centers. But even if we want to scale tomorrow to Australian region, even if we wanted to have a Singapore data center, India data center, we should be able to have the flexibility to immediately spin up instances and move on, right? So that is one another important considerations we had. And obviously for any startup founder, they will be having the constraints in terms of resources, right? If they have 2-3 developers, all their efforts has to be focused on building the application, rather than spending time in maintaining the application, maintaining the infra, writing a lot of things just to make sure that your application is always available. Things like that should not happen. It should be less maintainable. It should be one set, and we should be able, even if we get back to that after some time, it still should, we should be fine with that. Like, maintenance was one important factor, and finally cost. I don't need to insist the importance of the cost for any startup founder. We wanted to be basically cost efficient, at least in the beginning, so that even if we are having a rainy day, we are taking some time to find our fit. We are taking some time to onboard our customers. We should be able to still manage our infra without putting much sweat, right? So that is one another important consideration. And one nice thing is beautifully AWS fit for all the considerations that we had, right? For the load and bursting load, we were able to immediately have serverless functions take care of bursting load. We had spot instances that can basically give us the cost advantage. At the same time, we can basically process the jobs whenever we basically needed it. And we start, and with respect to data, we timed our startup launch with Postgres support for Aurora in AWS. I guess, they launched it by the beginning of 2018. And our product launch was also, kind of timed with that. And we realized the potential of able to manage our data and able to scale the data both horizontally and vertically by having more replicas, by having more shards, and again vertically by using Aurora clusters, right? And for scalability and elasticity, it has simple one-click setup for auto load balancing, time-based instances, and load-based instances. And we had tremendous, and application load balance. We had tremendous possibilities to basically scale up and scale down as and when we need it. And as just similar to how Naveen explained, they already have huge regional support, and you could see that even today they are basically planning to come up with 6 new regions. That gave us a confidence, like on a long term, we can see ourselves associated with a platform. Even if we wanted to scale across regions, we would be able to having the flexibility and maintenance. With my previous experience, I know that if I set it up one time with all the automations in AWS, we don't need to have a dedicated DevOps or team to manage it till we reach a certain shape, right? That confidence I got with AWS because of all the managed services that they provide. We didn't reinvent the wheel. If we wanted Redis, we didn't want to go ahead, spin up EC2 and configure Redis in it and open up the IPs and manage it. I know that probably we might be paying a little bit extra, but over the time, if you calculate everything together, manners and everything, that is going to basically kill your time, right? Rather than developing, you would be spending just in configuring Redis or configuring database. We went ahead with all the managed services possible with AWS, RDS, Elastic Cache, Elasticsearch Service. And that initially helped us get the time that we can put in developing our MVP. That was very essential for us because seeing the market is very important for any startup, right? And finally, cost. That is when the hero of today's session, AWS Activate, basically came into picture. And we had a huge runway of 2 years where we can experiment, try out things without even worrying about cost. And in 2 years, if you can't find product market fit, I guess, as a startup, we are juggling somewhere. We might need a pivot or we need something, right? So that was a huge platform for us. And that itself is enough to basically, overcompensate, even if we have some compromises that we have to make. This itself basically, gave us, enough leverage to take that call and move on, right? And I just wanted to quickly share you the basic architecture that we had when we started our product. And this aligns with what Naveen and Krishna basically explained. We had, VPC from the day one, private VPC, and we had subnets, private subnets and public subnets. A load balancer and Bastion were on public subnets. And all our instances from the day one itself, it was designed to communicate only within themselves. Outside internet, can't reach out to them without a controlled environment, right? All our instances, all our services were in VPC private and in the private subnet. And we had, layer for processing all the serverless things, Lambda, API gateway configured. And we had, an event-based architecture, pub/sub model through which we can basically delegate certain things to the background and continue to process it. For example, computing the insights for our users. It doesn't need to be right away, right? It doesn't need to be on the request response lifecycle. It can be event based. It can be moved to queue like SQS, and there can be an event listener that will basically that can be a subscriber which can take up the job and process it. We designed it that way from the beginning, and we had application load balancer, and exactly the application load balancer release was also timed when we launched the product, and we were able to use application load balancer with multiple SSL certificates, even to provide custom SSL certificates for our customers from day one. And we had reverse proxy setup with HA proxy EC2 instances and We basically had application instances serving all our jobs, and we leveraged S3 and CloudFront CDN to basically serve our static assets faster. And we had a different asset pipeline built in that basically pushes the static assets computer to S3. And from there, we had CloudFront in front to serve it as fast as possible for the consumers, right? Because for us, the experience of serving fast is very important. Even before the survey loads, just because of that delay, if customer leaves, there's no point in being that product, right? So we wanted to make sure that we are serving all the things as fast as possible to our customers, so that we basically had that design from the day one. And we were able to, one quick thing that I wanted to show is we wanted to immediately implement sentiment analysis during our initial launch itself. And what we had to do is, we just had to spend 30 to 40 minutes of time. We consumed, we had all the pipeline set. We just have to, rather than building our own setup, training our own models, we quickly, pulled in, we quickly consumed the APIs of Comprehend, send the data, got the sentiment back, and put it in our database and started showing the customers. That's how we were able to, quickly plug in the ML capabilities provided by AWS in our pipeline, and we were able to basically, leverage it, right? And for the data, we have used RDS. We are having, Postgres servers. We are having MySQL. We are having Aurora clusters for both Postgres and MySQL, and we are running, a lot of feed replicas, and we have sharded our database. And all the production workload is basically enabled with multiple availability zones to make sure that we are redundant and it's highly available. Even if there is something happens, the failover will happen quickly and we will be readily available. That was the whole intention. And again, we moved our, we had Redis Elastic Cache as our cache layer, and we moved our logs to Elasticsearch, which is one important use case. And again, we started using Elasticsearch for putting our pre-processed data for constructing our analytics as well. And we initially thought of putting an APM application performance monitoring tool, but then at that point, with all the credits that we had, we thought we will go ahead with CloudWatch itself. We don't need to again have a dedicated APM, at least for the beginning. We configure all the alarms that we need to configure to make sure that we are getting the right notification as and when something goes wrong. Or at the same time, we have used CloudWatch events also at that point. For one interesting use case where we are creating backup of our database every 10 minutes. And we have used CloudTrail for managing all the audit logs and stuff. And I haven't covered a lot of different services that we are using in AWS, but we have almost used all the services that is needed from the beginning itself to make sure that we are setting the foundation right. And I'm basically talking about the faster experience from the beginning. And the reason being, it's very, very important for my product, right? You can't afford to deliver slow and lose the customer, because already, a lot of customers might not be giving feedback. And just because your platform is loading slow, if you lose, another chunk of customers not giving feedback, that is not fair for our customers. So from the, that's why, the beginning setup itself, we wanted to have all this, event driven architecture, SQS, event bridge, Lambda, to make sure that we are basically isolating certain things that doesn't need to be computed on the response lifecycle itself. And for handling the burst of load, we are having API gateway and Lambda setup for different use cases, and cache, Elasticsearch, and RDS for maintaining the data, and using the specific services to basically to provide the faster experience as per the use case. Certain calls might go to Redis, certain calls might go to Elasticsearch, certain calls might directly take the data from database. And even if it is taking from the database, we might route the query to the replica so that our master is not affected. Like that, we have taken certain decisions initially itself to ensure that we are available. We are basically positioning ourselves as a high available system. Right? And yeah, I just wanted to show a few statistics. Right now, we basically have 500K surveys, and we have scaled up to 11 million views per month. We have guaranteed uptime of 99.99%, and we have basically customers over the globe, 100K customers who have onboarded with us right now. And the last, I just wanted to basically, give you some heads up when you are starting with AWS as a startup. What are the things that you can look forward to initially itself, leverage initially itself, that I wish someone would have told myself when I basically started, right? One is well architected tool. Krishna talked about it a lot. This is like a freebie, right? So if you're basically getting using services in AWS, you are already paying for it. AWS is trying to go out, going above and beyond to make sure that you are positioning your workload in a right way, in a cost optimized way. Or even if they would like to suggest a different architecture, so that your system can be even more highly available, they would basically suggest you that. I would recommend each and every founders to take a look at it from the beginning itself and make use of it the most, right? And the second one is online training. All of us are very much familiar with it. A lot of people right now are started putting it in their profiles, right? AWS certified professional, right? And a lot of resources are available. We don't need to basically hire anyone who is well accustomed with AWS even to start with. If we have some time to go through all the training resources that AWS has, it will be very easy to start with, right? So that is one another thing that I wanted to point out. And the final thing, the important thing with respect to getting the support from AWS is their built-in business support itself. And if you are in AWS Activate, there is some credits that is dedicated for business support. What I just generally did that helped out, that worked out for me is, let's say I'm working on a complex problem, right? And I want some advice from a solution architect in AWS or someone. I'm anyway, I will go out and figure it myself. But at the same time, if I want an assisting hand, what I generally do is, since I have a business support, I'll write it to AWS, and I'll continue to go on with my exploration. And next fine day, I will get something to start with. Someone would have reached out to me with full enthusiasm, like, you can start with this, you can do this with all these steps. I have my multiple instances where I've got the solution itself, right, without me putting much of an effort. That's how wonderful AWS support is, and it has helped us to start with things as fast as possible. And yeah, we have talked about AWS Activate a lot. Now it's going to be lifesaver for a lot of startups out there. And from the beginning itself, I would suggest to start using reserved instances. You might not need it when you are in AWS Activate, but still start having the practice of reserving your instances, planning your workload, and reserving your instances from the beginning itself to basically save a lot of cost, right? And one final thing that I found recently is, once you are basically out of AWS Activate, you are going to start spending money, right? And I have found a lot of AWS consulting partners. What they will do is they will basically purchase huge volumes of EC2 instances, huge volumes of RDS instances across different instance type itself. And they are basically reputed consulting partners who are very well associated with AWS. They have the AWS itself. They have given them rating, the levels. They have their own tiers. You can basically reach out to them, and you can transfer your billing to them, and they will basically help you to cut down your cost by 40% minimum. That is something that has been really helpful for us, and I just wanted to point out for the new founders, right? Yeah, and that's all about the things that I wanted to talk today. And again, I just wanted to mention a few of the things that we are doing as a company. We are very well positioned in G2 Crowd. We are basically, a leader in 2021 in our category, and we have real good visibility in terms of Gartner as well. And we were one of the 100 winners in Red Herring in North America. And Capra as well, you can basically read about our customer reviews about our platform. And as a global platform, just wanted to give you guys some idea about our reputed customers, people who are trusting us across globe, across regions, Europe, USA, India, and APAC. So that's it from my end today. So any questions of how we can?
Balaji, there is one question. uh, what is the other tech stack that Service Sparrow utilizes other than AWS? So that's a question.
Okay, sure. Thank you for the question. So with respect to infra, we are completely in AWS. We don't basically use any other infra solutions as of now. We basically almost use all the managed services provided by AWS. If you are specifically asking about our tech stack, we basically use Node.js as our backend, and our front end is on React.js, and we basically have a lot of we are breaking down our monolithic architecture into multiple services, and for different use cases we have started choosing different technologies. We have started considering Java for certain services. We have started considering Go for certain services, and there are certain services still uses JavaScript, uses socket connection and things, right? That's how we are positioning. That's how we are basically using the tech stack, right? I hope I answered it. So, is there any other question?
Yeah. So that's all. Yeah, that's all, Balaji.
Okay, I would like to thank for the opportunity given. I would like to thank Kerala Startup Mission and AWS for the opportunity, and thank you all participants. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you so much, Balaji. It was a very informative session. You explained clearly on how a startup can navigate through AWS using different programs. Thank you so much. So I think with this, we have come to end of the session. I would like to take a minute to basically ask you for your feedback on the session so that we can get back to you with more content. So here is the survey form you can access. I mean, you can just scan the QR code on your phone and fill in. I've also pasted the link to the survey in the chat. Let me just paste it again. So please share your feedback. At the same time, we have also shared the contacts of the account managers, Prashant and Deepak. So if you have any questions or need any other support, feel free to always reach out to us. I think we also have a request on please introduce the account managers. Prashant, would you like to take a minute?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. This is Prashant here. I manage the startups business for AWS in Tamil Nadu and Kerala, and happy to be part of this session. It was a wonderful session, and thank you everyone for joining in. And I would also like to thank Balaji for his insightful session. Please feel free to reach out to me. I've just pasted my mail address on the chat. Please feel free to reach out. If you need any support or any query you have related to Activate or related to your architectural explorations on AWS, my team and I will be able to help you better there. So please do reach out. Thank you. Over to you, Sidhu.
Yeah. Yeah, please fill in the survey. We'll also send it the survey in the thank you email, and you will also get the recording from Kerala Startup Mission. We mentioned that this will be uploaded on YouTube, so you can access the recording from there. Yes, feel free to reach out to us anytime if you have any questions. Thanks everyone for joining the session. Thanks to Naveen, Krishna, Prashant, and Balaji for sharing your insights and information on AWS. Yeah, I think that's it. We'll end the session here. Thanks, everyone.